Assalamualaikum and hi to my lecturer, Professor Dr. Raja Suzana. My name is Muhammad Faris bin Momano and my metric number is A19A0341. My partner and I, which is Wan Nabila, will present about our proposal research methodology. The title is The Relationship Between the COVID-19 Pandemic Crisis and Entrepreneurship Development as being perceived by Manufacturing SMEs in Kota Bharu, Kelantan, Malaysia. First is abstract. The COVID-19 pandemic has caused a global crisis since early 2020. One of the many challenges of the COVID-19 pandemic is communication. In particular, ensuring people everywhere have the most up-to-date and accurate information on how to stay safe. Entrepreneurship activity is important to be considered to reduce this negative. The objectives of this study and obtain data feedback related to impact experienced by SMEs during this pandemic period occur on their business. Economic outcomes, social outcomes, and consumer behavior outcomes are crisis considered. To achieve this objective, we review some theoretical and propose some sustainable development goals in this paper to verify the relationship between the relevant variables. Therefore, we consider that the COVID-19 pandemic crisis and entrepreneurial development related to the Sustainable Development Goals as useful framework in manufacturing SMEs. For the keywords, COVID-19 pandemic crisis, entrepreneurship development, Sustainable Development Goals, and Malaysia. Next is Chapter 1, Introduction. For earlier, I have explained a little bit about COVID-19 pandemic, and I proceed to the next, which is manufacturing and business. COVID-19's interruption of manufacturing has serious operational, social, and financial ramifications. Manufacturers are being so forced to reconsider risk management and contingency planning, as well as employee safety regulations, manufacturing operations, and new ways of working options. Next is the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. The unprecedented crisis like COVID-19, which soon converted itself into pandemic, has been seen as a roadblock by many. COVID-19 has halted the progress of individuals, has made many countries revisit their health policy and bring about one change by Saurabha and Purushottam. Next is entrepreneurship development. Entrepreneurship development is the process of strengthening an entrepreneur's knowledge and skills through classroom coaching, seminars, and training. And next is Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals were born at the United Nations Conference on Sustainable Development in Rio de Janeiro in 2020. And last is a link to Sustainable Development Goals. Referring to the study that have been made, Sustainable Development Goals that are in line are Sustainable Development Goals 8, Decent Work and Economic Growth. In this research, SMEs were discovered to feel that in order to be successful, they must incorporate sustainability into their business model. For the statement of the problem, we can see that pandemic crisis, which is COVID-19, can affect the entrepreneurship development in Malaysia. Many things need to be seen in the context and need build further between the COVID-19 pandemic crisis and entrepreneurship development. Next is research objective. To determine level of SMEs being experienced by manufacturing SMEs in Kota Bharu, Kelantan, Malaysia. Second, to determine level of entrepreneurship development as being experienced by manufacturing SMEs in Kota Bharu, Kelantan. And third is to examine if there is difference in level of COVID-19 crisis being experienced and entrepreneurship development among manufacturing SMEs in Kota Bharu, Kelantan, Malaysia. Next, research questions. First, what are the levels of COVID-19 crisis being experienced by manufacturing SMEs in Kota Bharu, Kelantan, Malaysia? Second is, what levels of entrepreneur development as being experienced by manufacturing SMEs in Kota Bharu, Kelantan, Malaysia? Third is there a difference in level of COVID-19 crisis being experienced and entrepreneurship development among manufacturing SMEs in Kota Bharu, Kelantan, Malaysia. For the next hypothesis, there is difference in level of COVID-19 crisis being experienced and entrepreneurship development among manufacturing SMEs in Kota Bharu, Kelantan, Malaysia. Okay, for the limitation of the study, a major limitation of many studies as well as this study is that they rely on cross-sectional results that are seldom replicated. As such, the results of the study cannot confirm the direction of causality implied in this year's model. Next is definition of terms. First, the COVID-19 pandemic crisis. Coronavirus disease, known as COVID-19, is an infectious disease caused by the SARS-CoV-2 virus. Most people infected with the virus will experience mild to moderate respiratory illness and recovery. Second is entrepreneurship development. Entrepreneurship development, also known as ED, is a process that encourages and enables entrepreneurs to take risks, create solutions, and develop business ideas. Third is Sustainable Development Goals. The Sustainable Development Goals, SDG, also known as the Global Goals, were adopted by the United Nations in 2015 as a universal call to action and poverty, protect the planet, and ensure that by 2030 all people enjoy peace and prosperity. Next chapter is Chapter 2, Literature Review. This study describes the relationship between the COVID-19 pandemic crisis and entrepreneurship development pursued by manufacturing SMEs in Malaysia. This chapter reviews literature on three main issues in elaborating the above relationship. First, definition of COVID-19 pandemic crisis and entrepreneurship development. Second, the level of each of COVID-19 pandemic crisis and entrepreneurship development. Third is the relationship between COVID-19 pandemic crisis and entrepreneurship development. Next, I will tell about our independent variables, dependent variables, and moderating variables. For the independent variables, there are three outcomes shown based on research, which is economic outcomes, social outcomes, and consumer behavior outcomes. Okay, for the dependent variable, there are three, which is social quality, next financial support, and last program support. Okay, for the moderating variables, we choose the size of organization. I will explain about definition of the size of the organization. Organizational size is the structural property of the organization and can be defined in terms of space volume, sales volume, and assets, customers, or the number of persons employed in the organizations. The figure 1 shows the SME definition by its sector and category, manufacturing, services, and other sectors. Okay, for the next part, my partner will continue the presentation.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. My name is Wan Nabila binti Wan Muhammad Yazi, matric number A19A0976. So I will present about relevant model of theories. So SMEs were discovered to feel that in order to be successful, they must incorporate sustainability into their business model and promote development-oriented policies that support productive activities, defense, job creation, and entrepreneurship, creativity, and innovations, and encourage the formalizations and growth of micro and medium-sized enterprise, including through access to finance service. Relationship between IV and DV. Independence variance is the COVID-19 pandemic crisis, which is a support to economic outcome, social outcome, and consumer behavior outcome. It based on Katrina 2021 and Hasanat 2020. Independence dependence variable is entrepreneurship development, which is covered social quality, financial support, and program support. And all these include together to this is a relationship between IV and DV. For the conceptual framework, framework indicates the relationship between the COVID-19 pandemic crisis and entrepreneurship development. Next, research design. The main aim and purpose of this study is to identify the relationship between the COVID-19 pandemic crisis and entrepreneurship development as being perceived by manufacturing SMEs in Kota Bharu, Kelantan, Malaysia. The researchers choose the descriptive correlations as the appropriate design of this study. Now we look at a sampling frame for populations, sampling technique, and unit of analysis. Sampling frames entrepreneurial development in manufacturing in Malaysia represent the sampling frames from the present study. And population, we can see 9,445 numbers of established entrepreneurial development in Malaysia exists in current context. Sample, representative of entrepreneurial development in manufacturing SMEs organizations selected at random from the list of SMEs Corp Malaysia. Turn to sampling technique, the researchers are using probability sampling methods for sampling technique and unit of analysis. Unit of analysis to decide about whom are drawing in inference and generalizing. For generalizing, in a statement about group of people based on only a few people. Okay, we turn to instrument, wide area of the population covered and the subsequent reduction distribution bias compared to other methods. The questionnaire appeared to be the most common methods used by the many researchers. So we can see from the table, in section A, COVID-19 pandemic crisis cover social outcomes, economic outcomes, and consumer behavior outcomes. Number of items that we collect from societal outcome is 7, economic outcome 6, and consumer behavior 4. Validity and reliability of the instrument, the extent to which measure is without bias is an indication of the reliability of the measure, and therefore consistent measurement across time and across the various items in the instrument is ensured. Plan of data collection. So an online survey will be sent to entrepreneurial development in manufacturing SMEs in Malaysia, and the online survey together with the cover letter will inform the participant of their selection, reinforcing the voluntary nature of the study and asking for other cooperation. Okay, plan of data analysis. We have a 3 objectives here, and first to be determined level of SMEs as being experienced by manufacturing SME in Kota Bharu, Kelantan. Variable is to level defined as a relative degree or as of achievement intensity or concentration, and measurement statement related to the level of SMEs as being experienced by manufacturing SME in Kota Bharu, Kelantan, and statistic descriptive statistic. Next, to determine if there is difference in level of COVID-19 crisis being experienced by ED, environment entrepreneurial development among manufacturing SME in Kota Bharu, Kelantan, and the variable is associations. IV evaluates in terms of its predictive power, and measurement is to measure the associations of COVID-19 crisis being experienced by entrepreneurial development, and statistics is multilinear regulation. That's all for me. Thank you.